Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today we are going to make some blondies and a taco salad wrap, which my husband likes to say is a burrito, but it's a taco salad wrap. But let's start by getting our blondies cooking or mixed up, and so we can have them start baking. I do have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. So we're going to start with our wet ingredient. I have 2 sticks of butter, also equal to 1 cup of melted butter. We're going to add this in here. I'm going to just use my spatula here to scrape out any of the remaining. And then we're going to add in our sugar. We're going to use 1.5 cups of brown sugar, light brown sugar preferably. I feel like dark brown sugar, it has too much of a molasses flavor to come out in the blondies. So we're going to use 1.5 cups. So just going to pack it in. And then we've got 1 more. And you always want to make sure you firmly pack your brown sugar in because it's a little bit more of a fluffy sugar. And if you just leave it right there, you're not going to have it quite as accurate of a measurement. We're going to kind of mix our butter into our brown sugar. I did make sure my butter kind of cooled down so it wasn't super hot as we melted in here because you just don't want it too hot when we mix in the eggs. But we're just going to make sure we get all of it kind of mixed in and just break up any clumps that there might be in your brown sugar. And again, that was a cup of melted butter. Now we're going to add in 2 eggs. So we've got 1 and 2. And we're going to add in a tablespoon of vanilla extract. So there's going to be a lot of vanilla flavor in here, but it's just so lovely. Put a lid on that. I'm going to pop my yolks, and then we're going to mix these in. And then we'll add in our baking powder and our salt. So we're just going to mix these eggs in until they're completely mixed into the mixture. And I like to just use a spoon for this. You could use a hand mixer for it if you want to, but it mixes up just as fine with a spoon. Here we go. Okay. We've got our eggs mixed in here. Now we're going to add in a teaspoon of baking powder, and then we're going to do a teaspoon of salt. So we've got our baking powder and our salt. And this is, again, our base for our blondies, which we'll be having with our taco salad wraps. I always like to make little treats that I can put in the kids' lunchbox throughout the week for it. My kids were complaining because we didn't have any baked goods over the weekend. And I was like, well, you guys ate them all up before we went in there. Okay, we've got that nice and mixed up. Now we're going to add in our flour. We're going to use all-purpose flour, and we are going to add in 2 cups of flour.
You have a question. What are blondies?
Blondies are like a brownie sister. So get it? Blondie, brownie. It's essentially a bar that's like a brownie, but instead of cocoa powder, it's going to have almost like a chocolate chip cookie base to it. I only added 1 cup there. They're delicious. We're going to add in white chocolate chips to this. And so they're honestly going to taste very similar to a like chocolate chip cookie, but in a bar form with white chocolate chips. Although you can add in M&Ms, regular chocolate chips, nuts into these. I've also seen dried fruit in it, but they are delicious. They've got that kind of nice caramely undertones from the brown sugar in here. And then, of course, like the eggs, so they're going to be rich, more fudgy, like a brownie. We're going to mix in our flour. Here we go. And then I'm just going to make sure I'm going to mix it in until it's all kind of incorporated. This is not one that you have to really worry about over mixing. It's not like a muffin where if you over mix it, it will get really firm. So we've got our Blondie base here. Now we're going to add in a cup of white chocolate chips, which is about half of a bag. Let me get a scissor here. But again, you can add in regular chocolate chips, M&Ms. Sometimes I make it with peanut butter M&Ms, which is delicious. You can do nuts, like macadamia nuts is really delicious in this. Think about like a white chocolate macadamia nut cookie. So we're going to add in just about a half a cup. We're going to eyeball it. Have a little bit left. We'll mix this in. And then we're going to put it in a 9x13 baking dish that will kind of grease up. And it's going to bake in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. I always look after 25 minutes and see how it's cooking up. There we go. So we've got our chocolate chips mixed in here. I have put in my 9x13 pan here, I have put down a piece of parchment paper, and then I'm just going to spray it up. This is just going to allow it to come out easier, not stick. I always just feel like it makes it just a little bit nicer. And then we're going to pop our mixture down here and we'll spread it out. But think about, like, they're kind of also like a cookie cake. Do you remember? I feel like those are such a popular thing when I was a kid. You always had, what is it, the Great American Cookie thing? It was always in like a kiosk in the mall. Love those things. But it's kind of like a base of a cookie cake, but with white chocolate chips. There also used to be this, where I used to work, there was this little French cafe, and they had the best blondies. Never been able to recreate the exact flavor of it, but they used French ingredients, like they imported all of theirs. So I'm pretty sure it was because they had nice French ingredients for it. Okay, now I'm just going to spread this out. I'm just going to hold my parchment paper down so it doesn't slip and slide. And then these are going to bake at 350 for about 25 to 30 minutes. Now, I feel like with everybody's oven is different. So the first time you make something, you really want to err on the lower side and then check frequently until you get the right, cook time. Like even both of my ovens cook completely different. I said everybody has their special thing. Here we go. I'm just going to spread this out. There we go. Pop this in the sink. And we're going to go pop this in the oven to bake up. My kids will be excited because they love blondies. And I don't make them all that often. I don't know why, because they're delicious. Probably because I would eat them all if they were. At 350. And I always like to do it on the top rack here. And then I'm going to do 25 minutes, and then we'll check on it after 25 minutes and see if it needs a little bit more time or if it's ready to come out. Like blondies, like brownies, is you're going to take them out and you're going to think that they're not done, but then they'll sit and cool and firm up. So they're one of those things that you have to let them cool for a little bit before you can just cut into them. Otherwise, they'll be too gooey in the beginning. Oh.
You have a question? What's on the table?
So I was at Walgreens the other day picking up my son's medicine, and I saw this as soon as I walked in the store, I saw the giant skeleton head, and I was with my two daughters, and I was like, I need this for Halloween. I love Halloween. So yes, it's a bit early, but it's going to be sitting on my table there. We dressed him up with a little, cowboy hat to make him feel a little bit more festive. It's an American one. Labor Day's coming up, so he's getting into the season. But I love Halloween to death. Like I keep every year, those like really big, like 13-foot or 11-foot skeletons. I really, really want one. But the problem is where do you store that thing? And I almost bought it one time. I put it in my little shopping cart for like on homedepot.com. And I was like, I'm going to get this. And then I read that it took a 6-hour assembly. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to assemble something that long. 30 minutes top is kind of my assembly time. But one of these days I'm going to get it. It's just going to show up. My husband's not going to know. How it is every year. We add more like lawn decorations for Halloween and Christmas. And then we just show up with them one day and I'm like, how did that get here? So he's my big one. Now my 10-year-old daughter, she's like, can we get the Halloween decorations out? Can we have this one out? And I was like, no, we have to wait till September. I have a firm line. It's got to be September. August is too early. But is it? So he's been fun. My Teddy's been loving it. His eyes glow red too. So he's pretty cool. Okay, we're going to break it up. We're going to let our ground beef here cook up for our taco salad wraps. And let's kind of prep. We're going to make our avocado dressing. So we're going to do like kind of like an avocado homemade ranch for this. So we're going to do one avocado is going to go in and one's going to go into our dressing. So we'll let that cook up. And then we'll add our spices here. Oh, look at that. It is a vibrant green avocado. A little teeny tiny pit. I'm going to grab a spoon and a fork here. So I'm going to mash up my avocado first to use as the base for my ranch dressing so that it has that nice kind of creamy texture. And I think it will just go really good with kind of the taco salad. There we go. I'm going to add that in here. And we're just going to mash this guy up because you want him to go into it. You could also do this dressing in like a mini little blender bottle if you wanted to, or a little blender thing, but why make more mess when you can keep it all in one thing? So we're just going to mash it up. Here we go. And then we're going to add in our mayo and a little bit of heavy whipping cream. We grab another spoon here. Let's get this going. I feel like tacos, I haven't actually made ground beef tacos in so long. I used to make them all the time. But then my kids were like, we like chicken tacos, which never had chicken tacos growing up. It was always ground beef. And, it was like one day a week was taco night. I feel like every 90s kid lived through taco night, spaghetti night, hamburger helper night.
Might be the first time this year.
Yeah, honestly, it's probably the first time this year, as my husband said, that we've actually done a ground beef taco. So, but I was like, ooh, taco salad. This I think would be delicious. I've been into wraps recently. I did that viral, chicken Caesar salad wrap. And then I was like, ooh. And so then last week, I think we did a crispy chicken ranch wrap. Now taco salad wrap. I might be doing a wrap a week. I feel like it's just a good lunch thing. Okay. Let's cook those up. Let's get for our dressing, we're going to do half mayo base, half cream with a squeeze of lemon juice. I'm going to add in, this is about probably 2 tablespoons of mayo. And then we'll do 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. And then normally I would do a lime, but I'm out of lime. So we'll do a lemon. Now, lemons and lime are very similar in flavor, but lemons are slightly sweeter, but it won't make that much of a difference in here. But normally I would use a lime for this. We're going to squeeze in half of it. And now I'm going to use my fork to kind of mix this up. And then we're mixing our avocado in here. We're still got to season this up, but this is just the kind of the creamy base for our ranch dressing. our avocado ranch dressing. Here we go. So we've got a nice kind of creamy base to it. Let's get our green onion. I've got in our little bit of onion powder. So for our onion powder, we're going to put about a teaspoon in here. This is going to help give it a nice savory flavor. And then we're going to add in some minced up onions, or green onions. This is just going to add a nice little green onion flavor to it. And then we'll do some garlic salt. We're really keeping it very, very simple in our flavors for our kind of like our homemade avocado ranch. So let's get these guys in here. And then I'm going to stir my ground beef here. We want to make sure we get it all cooked up, and then we're going to strain out the fat. Now, when I strain out the fat, I do mine a little bit differently. I just actually put paper towels in there to soak it up. That way you don't have to actually do as much work of trying to pour it into a bowl. And then you got to figure out what you're going to do with your fat. Okay. We got that there. We'll see, once we strain out the fat, we'll season up the meat. You don't want to season it up until you strain out the fat. Otherwise, all your flavor is going to go with the grease. Okay, let's add in a little bit of garlic salt to our ranch here. If it wants to open up for me. There we go. We're going to put about a teaspoon in here of garlic salt. And then I'm going to get my black pepper, about a pinch, like a half a teaspoon of black pepper, but it's going to give it a little bit of a kick, which will be nice, I think. So about a half a teaspoon. Now we're going to mix this up. And this should have our lots of delicious flavor for our wrap. And that nice avocado in there is just going to give it a nice smooth texture too. Okay, let's get this turned down.
You have a question. Do you post the recipes to your pages?
We upload the link, or on the page is a link and where we upload all of our videos. So if you ever want to recreate, you can just re-watch our videos. And that way you can follow along and cook with us all the time. But we also, for our members, we post 2 to 3 recipe cards each week for them. And typically it's one of the recipes that we've done during our week for them. But everybody has access to our videos, so they can always recreate from them. I always try to make sure I go through every step of the recipe, list all the ingredients, so you can truly make it, again, by just rewatching. So for my little trick of getting the grease out, I've got my paper towels here, and I'm just going to let it go here and soak up all that grease. That way you don't have to go through and try to pour it into a bowl and whatnot. Now it's just in your paper towel, and then it can just go straight into the trash, which is kind of nice. But you really want to make sure you soak up all that grease, because otherwise when you bite into your wrap, it's going to be just full of just greasy, spicy grease. Okay, I'm going to get a little cup of water here. Because I like to cook, we'll put our taco seasoning in, and then I add the water so it kind of tenders up the meat, seasons it all the way through. So I've just got my bulk taco seasoning from Costco. So just simple. You can make your own, or you can buy a little packet if you want. We're going to put in about like a tablespoon and a half of this, a good amount to cover it. I want it to have lots of flavor. And then I've got about half a cup of water here. We're going to put that in here. And we're going to let this kind of simmer and until all of that liquid has dissolved out. It's going to keep the meat, make it nice and tender and really flavorful, because it's going to give it as if it's stewed in it. Here we go. So I'm going to just keep it nice and hot. I will say, some people, when they make their taco meat, they will like let it stew with liquid for like hours. And then you get that like kind of like that mushy taco meat that is like at every like little taco shop or whatnot. It's like very, very tender. I don't do that. That's too much time. But I do put in and let it steam out to get that flavor all the way through. Otherwise, it can be more dry. This is going to give you more tender meat.
I do have a question. What brand stove is that?
This is a Samsung. I'm not sure. It is just a Samsung thing. The one thing I like about the stove that I love, it has a bread proofing thing, which keeps the inside at 95 degrees, and it gives me the best rises out of my bread. So I love that part about this stove. But when we remodeled the kitchen, we put an island in, and so you needed to have one that was flush with the countertops. So this was a reasonable priced one. But I like, and it's got a sleek profile. Okay, we've got that there. Let's work on our taco salad bit. Let's grab off a couple leaves of lettuce here for it. And you don't need a whole lot because again, this is going inside a wrap. It's not a full taco salad. I know I was thought about it. I'm like, ooh, maybe we'll fry up tortillas sometime and actually make a true taco salad. That's the best part about a taco salad is that big flour tortilla that it's sitting in when you go to a Mexican restaurant. Just pulling off some of the more delicate parts of those leaves because I want my inside to be a bit crunchier with this. And then we are going to chop this up nice and small because when you're eating a wrap, you don't want to have like a huge leaf of lettuce where you're like pulling it out and you've got the whole lettuce leaf coming out. You want it to be like a chopped salad in the middle of it. Here we go. Give this a stir, but you can see how it's simmering up and all that steam coming out is just it escaping there, and it will eventually completely all evaporate. But then those flavors will really be in the meat nice and lovely instead of just kind of dried on the surface. Okay, so we've got our chopped up salad here, very nice. And again, we're making 2 wraps here, so you probably just need about 1 to 2 cups. You don't need a whole lot for the wraps because there's going to be lots of other stuff in there. We are going to have a tomato as well. So I'm going to dice it up because you've got to have that kind of fresh tomato kick to it. There we go. Looks like it. And then just kind of nice and small. Think about like the size that you would do if you were going to make your own like pico de gallo or salsa. If your knife is catching on your tomato skin, that is a sign that your knife is dull and you need to sharpen it up. So I always know with onions, peppers, and tomatoes, if my knife catches on those skins or it doesn't cut through it as well, that's when I just need to sharpen up my blade. And it should be that if your knife is nice and sharp, when you just slide it along a tomato skin without any pressure, it should cut right through it. Here we go. You can see already half of that liquid has evaporated out. There you go. I'm going to just turn it down. And I'm just actually cooking this over about a 5, so it's not even on high heat, but it's just continually steaming this away. Let's add our tomatoes into our little salad bit. And then I have a sweet pepper. If you like a bit of spice, you could definitely throw in like a jalapeno or a poblano for a bit more heat. But I'm a spice baby. And then, I always say I'm a spice baby. Our family's a spice baby. But my husband actually is not a spice baby. He would probably love so much more heat. But I'm the one cooking, so he gets it nice and mild. One of these days, I'm going to get a ghost pepper and just slip it in there for him and be like, there's your heat. Here we go. And then I'm going to cut my peppers up nice and small, again, because I want them to have that crunch flavor in there, almost like a fresh salsa. Go in there. And for that, let's get our red onion. I always say 1 red onion will last you forever. Just cut off a little bit and use it. This is great. Red onions are not really meant for cooking. They're meant to be fresh. So like in dips, salads, you can pickle them or whatnot, but they are better served fresh and cold versus cooked up, because when you heat them up, they lose their flavor really, really fast. And so then, you don't get the good benefits of a lovely onion. So we're going to do, again, just nice smaller bits over this. And so we'll have the green onions in our avocado ranch. And then we have this like lovely flavors here. Okay, we've got that. And then I've got about a 1/3 cup of corn that I have kind of defrosted there. And that is just going to give us, because you got a corn. If you like beans, you could throw in, I would say recommend black beans to throw in here, like a 1/3 cup of black beans. But I am not a bean person, so I will opt to keep them out. But if you love it, that would be something great to pop in there as well. Okay. Bring in there. We're almost down. You can see almost all of our liquid is gone. Out of there. And this is where I was also really, really key to take out that grease, because otherwise this would be really, really greasy now if you didn't. Let's give this a quick toss, and then we're going to add in part of our dressing. I'm just going to mix it up some. Oh, let's not forget our avocado. Got to have our avocado in here. Okay, if your avocado is nice and ripe, your skin should just peel off nicely off of it, which means you can chop it up a little bit easier. There we go. Pull that off. Okay, and for these, I'm just gonna chop these up. I'm gonna slice them first through, and then we'll do a simple dice on them. That way we'll have some just lovely avocado pieces in our salad along with our avocado ranch. Okay, so we've kind of got the base of the inside of our salad. I'm going to pour our part of our ranch dressing, our homemade ranch, in here. And we're going to coat it. I'm going to save some in case we want to dip it. We're just going to nice and coat it right here, up with all of that delicious flavor. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to turn this down now off, because all of our extra liquid has been cooked off. And now I'm going to add my cheese into my meat, because that's going to allow it to get all nice and gooey and melty. And it will make it delicious versus putting it in my salad, because I want it to be a bit more gooey. So we're going to put about, I want to say I put about a 1/2 cup in there. We're just going to mix this up until it's all melted. If you love a nice creamier bit, you could throw in some sour cream in here as well to make it just a bit more creamy and delicious. But we are going to just keep it nice and cheesy, but you can see it just melts right into our beef. So we are going to have this delicious kind of cheesy beef to go in our wrap. Okay, let me peek on our thing. Ooh, perfect. We're kind of getting good timing here. Okay, let's assemble. Well, actually, we're going to let this meat cool down just a second. Let's cut up our honeydew that we're going to have with our lunch today. I flipped my cutting board over so it's nice and clean, that we'll have with it. Because if I wrap that beef up right now, it's going to be a little hot and I might burn my finger. So we're just going to let it sit for a second there. And we'll cut this up. I always say, cutting up your own melons is a great way to save money at the grocery store. Just your own fruit. It's really easy to cut it up once you know how to do it. And it will save you just a lot of money, because you pay like 3 to 4 times the cost for them to cut it up. Here we go. It's like we're going to have a nice sweet melon here. It's got a nice bright green.
You have a question. Do you have a cookbook?
I do not have a cookbook. I get asked that a lot. I do post recipe cards for my members, but that's kind of my in the books this year is to start on a cookbook because everybody keeps asking. I've just never really thought of doing it before. The nice thing about it, we post all of our videos. I have like a digital copy of almost all my recipes because I do like to, cook a wide variety. And I'm like a person who I don't ever follow recipes for the most part. I just feel it. I think when you've been cooking, I think most beginner cooks, they start out and they follow recipes to a T and everything like that. But as you start to become more proficient in cooking, you realize you feel a lot more. Here, that one breaking apart there. Okay, so let's just slice up our melon. So when you kind of cut along the edges of it, it will just pop down just like this. And then you can just take your knife right along the blade here. And then it's just really easy to kind of just take it off and put it there. So you don't even have to have great knife skills. You don't have to arc along your melon at all. You just have to be able to, fold it down. This works for cantaloupe, honeydew, hammy melons, gold melons, all of the different melons except watermelon. Watermelon doesn't work this way because its rind is too thick, but any of the thinner rind melons, you can just cut it up that way. And it just goes really, really fast. I find that if you take your time to kind of cut up the fruit during your meal time, where you're prepping a meal, then it's not some extra task that you have to do out of hand. Especially because when you come home from the grocery store, you don't want to cut your fruit up right away because 90% of the time your melon or pineapple or whatnot isn't quite ripe yet. So you just need to let it sit on your counter for a couple of days until it's nice and ripe, and then you cut it up.
You have a question. What brand knives do you use?
So I use Wusthof. I actually got my knife set when I was married, so 16 years ago. Love it. This is the Wusthof Classic, which this knife, they've been around forever, but I love it because it has a good heft to it. So it's got a good weight to it, but it's not super heavy. It sharpens up nice. The actually block set comes with a honing steel. So you get to feel like you're a swordsman and sharpen up your knife that way. But they're great. 16 years and mine is still going strong. I sharpen it a couple of times a month, just whenever I feel it's starting to snag. And I love it. They also have the classic is, their basic line. They make a couple different ones. They have a more affordable line, which is the gourmet line, which is a good sharp knife. The only difference that I've noticed between the gourmet and the classic is the weight of it. The gourmet is a little bit thinner, not as heavy, and you can tell the blade is a little bit, it's not as strong, but it's still a good, great knife. Let's go get our Blondies out of the oven. Wash my hands because they're covered in honeydew juice. We'll go check on these and then we'll wrap up our wraps here. Oh, they are looking gorgeous. I think they're definitely done right now. Look at that. Beautiful. Now I always say they're going to be like a brownie where you know how when you take a brownie right out of the oven, you can't cut into it yet. It takes 15, 20 minutes for it to cool down. And once it cools down, it firms up. Same thing goes with Blondies, but it's got this just light, nice deliciousness. So it's not as sweet and as heavy as a brownie, but it has that chocolate chip cookie dough kind of base to it with that brown sugar and the butter. which is so delicious. And I love it with the white chocolate chips. I think it just kind of goes really well. I'm going to slice these last few pieces of cantaloupe, or not cantaloupe, honeydew here. And then we're going to build up our wrap. Let me get our little bits out here. And that way I have my cutting board cleaned off so I can wrap it up. Now, and our cheesy beef has cooled down, so that won't be as hot to do it. You could also wrap it up right away, but I don't want to burn my fingers. Okay, I got our honeydew in here. I'm gonna go grab us, put that over here. Let me grab a paper towel and a plate. And we are going to make our wrap. So you're going to want to use a really big tortilla for this. So I've got the big kind of flour burrito tortillas for it, because when they're little, you can't really do your little roll on it. So we'll set this up here. I'm going to do it right on this thing. And when you're building it, you want to put your stuff on the one end. You don't put it right in the middle. So we're going to do, so I'm going to put my salad on like the top and the bottom kind of the sense. So I'm going to make a layer right here, and then we'll put our meat and cheese right in the middle. And then we'll put another layer of our salad right on top. So again, that kind of keeps that meat and cheese right in the middle. And this is our taco ground beef with cheddar cheese in it. Get a nice big pop it there. And then I'm going to put another layer of our salad on here, which is chock full of lettuce, tomatoes, peppers, corn, avocados. And then we made a nice avocado ranch dressing. And now we're going to carefully wrap this up. So you're going to, again, just going to kind of hold it. Once you've got it over that first part, then you're going to kind of tuck these guys in just like that. And again, you're just going to hold that in there. And then you just do your little roll. Voila, we've got our first one wrapped up. And let me grab my knife here, because this is where the magic is. Do, do, do. And voila, we've got our chicken, or not our chicken, our taco salad wrap with our cheesy ground beef, and then our salad with our avocado ranch. And then we will have it with our Blondies, which is like that chocolate chip cookie dough base, but we use it with white chocolate chips. It's got that rich kind of caramely texture from the brown sugar and butter. And then, of course, our honeydew melon for a little pop of fruit. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, kind of show you what we're making and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page. So if you ever want to recreate any of these recipes at home, you can just go to that link, search for what we made. So we've got our taco salad wraps and Blondies, and you can watch and cook along with me again. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront that has all of our different cooking gear in it. It has our Hexclad pans. I've got my Woodstock knives in there that I use. All the different gadgets that I use in my kitchen, I've got in there for you guys to check out. But again, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe.